Good afternoon. We're excited to be in the playoff field, humbled by the opportunity, probably more than anything. We're comfortable with our position. We feel fortunate. We're not Powerball excited like we won a lottery, but we are excited about getting new life and an opportunity to pursue and chase our goals for this season. This week, our challenge is a familiar one. I'll get to the Cincinnati Bengals, but like I always do, I'll quickly assess our last performance. In a nutshell, I thought that a few really good things that happened in the game. It wasn't a perfect game by any stretch. We have our faults and shortcomings, but I thought that the defense stood tall when faced with adversity. We got put on the short field some, particularly at the early stages of the game. Something that could have given that group life that we were competing against, but I thought our defense did a really good job of standing up in the face of adversity and really making the necessary plays, particularly when the field got short. We were able to get a red zone turnover. That's usually been big to our efforts when we play good ball, is because we've stood up in the short field and in some instances created a little opportunity of our own. There was an enormous play by James Harrison in the red area to make that pick. But largely, I just thought that we smiled in the face of adversity collectively from a defensive standpoint and gave our offense a chance to find this rhythm. Finding this rhythm was an issue for us on several fronts. We turned the ball over early. We threw a pick. Antonio fumbled. But as we were starting to gain some traction, we lost D'Angelo, and we've lost some guys along the way over the course of the season, and usually it requires some adjustments from an offensive personality standpoint. I thought that our guys did a solid job of rediscovering itself and how we were going to attack and do what was necessary to win in that environment with what was at our disposal. Really appreciate the efforts of Fitz Toussaint. Thought he did a really rock-solid job. Not surprised by that. He's a diligent worker. He brings a business-like approach. I think he's one of those guys that everybody is excited about seeing play, excited about seeing given an opportunity, because here's a guy that doesn't say much, is extremely low maintenance, and really works hard to put himself in position to be a positive asset or a contributor to us when given an opportunity. He was given that on Sunday, and he delivered. I thought the special teams did a solid job of anteing up as well, providing a turnover, providing another opportunity to give us the ball on the short field, but largely just being solid in all areas. I thought that was critical. As we prepare for Cincinnati, I'll talk quickly some injury things. Not a lot to speak of from an injury standpoint. D'Angelo's injury situation is one that's noteworthy. He's being evaluated and getting treatment as we speak. I just spoke with him probably about 10 minutes ago. He can be characterized as day-to-day. I don't know what his availability will be in terms of the game. Like we do in all instances, man, we'll let practice availability and or participation be our guide in terms of what to expect from him. We'll give him an opportunity to do that if he's capable, and then we'll have daily discussions and planning regarding that. But in the meanwhile, I think it's prudent for us and appropriate to build our plan around Fitz and around Tomlin, guys that have been here, guys that are healthy, guys that are willing and capable to be positive contributors to our effort. We're going to challenge those guys to have a big week, to be wired in from a preparation standpoint, and to deliver in a similar way that others have delivered for us over the course of the year when adversity or injury strikes. We asked D'Angelo to do the same thing. D'Angelo usually gets offended by that. He says it's not his first rodeo. But he had an opportunity to step up because of injury to Le'Veon Bell, and we never asked him to be Le'Veon. We just asked him to be D'Angelo, and that was more than enough. And if a similar thing happens at that position this week, we'll ask similar things of Fitz and Tomlin. We won't ask them to be Le'Veon. We won't ask them to be D'Angelo. We'll ask them to be themselves, to be positive contributors to our efforts and to play good winning football. I think that's a fair thing to ask, and I think both men are capable of delivering that. Now as I turn our attention towards Cincinnati, not a lot has changed since the last time we played these guys. They're a really good team, a formidable bunch, AFC North champions, and rightfully so. I think any way you look at them or any way you break them down, it provides very tangible evidence of the type of group that they are. Just looked at some statistical things. They're plus 11 in the turnover margin. If you take care of the ball and you get the football, you're a tough team to beat. They've been that. They're in the top 5 in the National Football League in red zone offense and in red zone defense. And those are things that obviously that we covet, things that we have a great deal of respect for. They're winning the battle of possession of the ball, and they're making the significant plays on both sides of the ball when the field gets short. From a special team standpoint, they've got rock-solid coverage groups, got a lot of respect for their coverage group, specifically Pierman, their running back. He's a running back by job description, but he is a force as a special teamer. We've experienced some negativity associated with that. He made some splash plays against us early on in the year, and just about every time we play him, we expect that to be a rough and tumble element of the matchup. If you look at them from an offense and defensive perspective, they've got great diversity. They're capable of attacking you in a variety of ways with a variety of people. If you zero in on minimizing one particular element of their attack, largely some other element of their attack's probably gonna have a big day. A.J. Green is A.J. Green. You spend a lot of time working to minimize him. The tight end, Tyler Eifert's going to get you. I think he's got 13 touchdowns on the season. Both guys are formidable guys. Both guys are critical elements to their attack, particularly in situational football, red zone, third down. We got to be thoughtful about the things that we do and weigh the risk associated with working to minimize those guys and others. But they got quality supplemental guys like Marvin Jones and Sanu, who have definite personalities. Jones is capable of taking the top off of the coverage and getting behind you. Sanu is a versatile jack-of-all-trade guy, if you will. They've got some wildcat football that they've utilized him in the past, and they continue to do so. They got a two-headed monster at running back. Jeremy Hill is more of a pounder type, a downhill type, but Giovanni DeBomard is very capable in that area as well. He's not small, he's short. He's got good contact balance and strength. They utilize both guys in the passing game. I wouldn't know how to describe them in terms of a pecking order as 1 and 1A. They appear to use both guys fluidly in just about all situations. We got to work to minimize their impact on the game. On defense, I think the same thing could be said, that the guys come in pairs, if you will. Up front, it's about Geno Atkins on the inside and Dunlap on the perimeter. They work well together. Geno provides great penetration and a push in the interior, and oftentimes that doesn't allow the quarterback to step up in the pocket and deliver the ball, increasing the probability that Dunlap's going to get you off the edge. And vice versa. The length of Dunlap and the pressure that he provides off the edge oftentimes make quarterbacks step up into the pocket, but also step up into the area that Geno patrols. We got to work to minimize their rush, not only their pressure packages, but they're the type of group that's capable of applying pressure with a 4-man rush. And mix and play coverages, and they do all of the above. They got really good continuity on defense, not only in terms of core players, but coaching staff, and I think that's revealed in their play, how solidly they play, how coordinated their attack is. At the linebacker level, Burflecht and Malaluga, man, are a formidable duo. They're both extremely physical players. They're strong against the run. Both guys are very knowledgeable and savvy in the passing game. I think both guys had interceptions a week ago against Baltimore. Disruptive forces, those two. They cover, they tackle, they blitz. They're a big component of their defense. And in the back end, what can you say about Reggie Nelson? This guy's been getting the ball not only against us but everybody else. I think he leads the National Football League in interceptions this year, but it's not only this year. He's been playing at a high level for some time and is really just displaying the savvy that's associated with being the veteran center fielder that he is. They got top quality guys, first round like guys at corner. We got to deal with the presence of Adam Jones in this game. He wasn't available the last time we played. Boy, he's having as good a year as I've seen him have, and obviously he's had some good ones. He's a quality player. We got to work to maintain possession of the ball, to move the ball, to score, to minimize their scoring. Nothing's new. It's January football. We're excited about it. It's significant, but the mechanism by which we prepare, the process that we go through to put ourselves in position to play winning football will be very familiar and the same for us. We're a group that embraces routine from that standpoint. I'm excited about preparing with the staff. I'm excited about preparing with the guys when they get in here in the morning. I'll be happy to address any questions you might have.
Mike, what have you seen from A.J. McCarron since you guys left Cincinnati?
I think the number one thing that he's proven is that they're capable of calling and executing their offense. I see very little schematic difference in terms of how they're attacking people, whether he's in there or whether Andy's in there, and it's probably a compliment not only to him and his preparation, his ability to learn and prepare on a limited number of snaps, but also to their coaching staff and Hugh Jackson and those guys, their teachers. It's obvious their program hadn't skipped a beat. They're showing a similar personality. They have some packaged things that they do week in and week out that you have to be prepared for. It might be a little bit more of that on their video in recent weeks than there was when Andy Dalton was playing Wildcat and such, but largely the things that they're asking AJ to do are no different than the things that they ask Andy to do.
Mike, on the first interception, did Martavis trying to do what he was supposed to do on that play, and was there any correlation between that play and his lack of playing time the rest of the game?
No, he sustained a minor injury that we wanted to help him get through. He missed a lot of time during the week because of illness. Oftentimes when young guys don't get an opportunity to practice, they lack a little detail in play. I'm not going to get into details about what unfolded on that interception other than to acknowledge that Poirier made a nice play. I think to do anything else would take away from the quality play that he made. We're excited about preparing this week with Martavis and everyone else, and hopefully illnesses and things that have been issues for us in the last several weeks, largely with our football team, will be less of an issue as we prepare this week. I don't know. I didn't read it. I just asked, was he going to be available? They said day to day. I'll take that. I'll see what tomorrow holds.
Mike, is it characterized as a high ankle sprain versus a conventional ankle sprain? And secondly, how capable is Tucson in the passing game?
I think technically it's not even an ankle, it's a foot. But I'll let the experts talk about that in detail. I tend to trip over myself when I do. Tucson is very, very capable in the passing game, and I think his play on Sunday displayed that. We threw the ball quite a bit. Ben wasn't sacked in the game, and his efforts had a lot to do with that. I'm not at all.
Why not? What do you see in your team that
I know our group. We're singularly focused on the opportunity that is the playoffs, and it's about winning games, and that's where our focus will be.
Mike, to that end, is that something you saw a few years back when the Ravens-Steelers rivalry evolved in that regard, where a lot of the anxiety and angst between the two teams took place between the listeners when the playoff games took place last season?
What was your question? I'm sorry?
That similar, that sort of rivalry evolved the same way. The nastiness took place between.
Hey, I'm not here to build a rivalry or to make promos in regards to that. we're just going to prepare and show up and play. And we understand there's a lot at stake. We understand it's important to us. It's important to them. There's usually a lot of excitement and combat associated with that. But you got two professional football teams, men of integrity, guys that want to do honor to themselves in the game and the organizations that they represent. We're not going to talk about it at all in a formal way as we prepare. I'll proceed with the assumption that our guys understand what we're looking for in that regard. We'll leave that to you guys.
Do you expect officials to pay extra attention to somebody after the whistle?
I don't, because I don't expect it to be a lot of that.
Like James Harrison with the goal line interception, big play in the game, obviously, 7th red zone turnover for you guys. There have been some speculation or people drawing a link between your 7-on-7 shots that you were doing all through training camp and through the season. Do you see that link?
I think guys are making plays. We practice in that area of the field quite a bit, not only in quote-unquote 7 shots, but just in general. Friday, a large part of Friday is dedicated to executing in that area on a normal game week. It's significant. They're not normal downs. The result of those downs usually affect the scoreboard directly. So we believe that attention is justified.
Mike, is playoff experience in playing on this kind of quote stage, is that a big deal once you get to the
The more experience I get, the more I think it is. When I didn't have experience, I wouldn't acknowledge that.
How about for the players?
Probably the same thing for them. Ben probably feels comfortable with his experience, and I'm sure Ryan Shazier feels comfortable with his lack of experience.
Mike, Ben has thrown an inordinate amount of interceptions the last couple of weeks, even if you look over the season. Is that something schematic? Is it a matter of read, something that only he can correct?
We got to do a better job. He has to do a better job of safeguarding the ball. But we've been in some situations where guys have made some plays as well, and I don't want to take anything away from them. We acknowledge as we get into January football that the turnover ratio is big, particularly when you're playing somebody the quality of the Bengals, like I mentioned earlier, with the +11 in the turnover ratio. Whatever the issues may be, we better work to minimize them this week.
Cody Wallace has had 4 or 5 pre-snap penalties. What exactly is he doing as the center getting called on pre-snap penalties?
Some of it has to do with working on the silent count in opposing venues. When you're working on the silent count, oftentimes it's rhythm. There's some coordination there, and sometimes, he's a guy that's identified because he's the guy that touches the ball, but it may be a group mechanical thing. We got to work to minimize that in this game. Downs are going to be tough enough to win, not only losing 5 yards prior to the down.
Bengals really committed to defending you with an approach. How important would it take getting back to a certain level of play?
I don't care who makes the plays, whether it's Martavis, whether it's Hayward Bay, or whoever. We feel like we got a bunch of capable guys. Martavis was sick and limited a week ago. Darius Hayward Bay made some significant plays. Martavis missed some time at the early portions of the year. Hay Bay made some significant plays. I find comfort in knowing that we got the type of group that we can plug in guys and deliver what it is that we need, where we don't have to talk specifically about the positioning or the preparedness or the availability of any one particular person.
You said guys were excited about Fitz Toussaint last week. Why are you excited about his abilities?
Because he's a talented and hard-working guy. He displays that for us on a day-to-day basis. Not only since he's been called up and active, but when he was serving us in the scout team capacity when he was a practice squatter. He brings a no-nonsense blue-collar approach that I'm sure Steeler Nation would appreciate, and I'm sure they're going to grow to like him in the manner that we do.
Like Antoine Blake said after the game that despite being a 6 seed, with the flashes of greatness you guys have shown over the last 2 months, he thinks you're as dangerous as the 8 seed in the playoffs. Is that kind of the role you're taking on as maybe the underdog that's going to surprise some people?
We're not looking for a role. We're not trying to define ourselves. We're just trying to win this week and then prepare for next week. And however that's described or framed is not our business.
How is Jarvis Jones feeling after this weekend? How much of a snap distribution can
I'm not going to get into the rotations of outside linebacker. I'll let you guys trap Coach Porter with that one. But I just saw Jarvis downstairs. I expect him to be available to us. Don't know the extent of his overall health. I'd imagine I'll get an update prior to tomorrow morning. But I don't anticipate him being limited in any form or fashion from a practicing standpoint.
Mike, in that
Looks
same
like in the
vein,
first half, Blake got the majority of the snaps at corner. In the second half, it was Ross Cockrell. Was that a performance-based decision or something else?
We've been rotating those guys, and we're going to continue to do so. Oftentimes, we don't give you guys a great detail about the method to the rotation, but there is. But it's also capable of changing week to week. That's why we don't detail it.
Vince Williams seemed to play a lot from scrimmage against Cleveland. Was there an issue with Shazier?
No, it wasn't. Just Vince has been a capable guy. He had a good week's practice. The game was unfolding in such that it led to his skill set. Vince is a high-energy guy, a good communicator, a guy that's at his best in some of those circumstances. We're going to continue to work to try to be inclusive with all of those guys. If you think about how we've played defense here in recent weeks or the last month and a half or so, we really have an inclusive mentality in terms of utilizing guys. It's not just an 11-man attack or a 12-man attack. As we've gotten into the meat of this thing, we've used as many as 4 corners or 4 inside linebackers, 4 outside linebackers. We've used Rob Gold and some at safety and in sub-package ball. I just think it's appropriate this time of year. It keeps things fresh. It inspires guys. It gives guys a reason to prepare and to be a significant component of what it is we're doing and how we do it. I like the inclusive mentality, and largely more than anything, some of the rotation things that you guys asked about is more in that vein than anything else.
Mike, Will Allen had another impactful game. What keeps him an important player into his 30s, an impactful player into his 30s?
He does a nice job of taking care of his body, not only during the season, but over a 12-month calendar. He's always in great shape. He's very conscious of what he puts in his body. He's a professional in every way. Obviously, he's been blessed and fortunate to maintain a certain level of health, but I think the actions that he takes on a day-to-day basis in terms of being professional has benefited him greatly in terms of having the longevity that he's had in a similar way that James Harrison has as well.
We got the pass pretty effectively against Cleveland last week, especially as opposed to the week before. How incumbent is it on your defense to do something similar this week, especially given the fact that McCarron is holding on to the ball very long and trying to go deep very often?
I agree with you. We got to play well.
Does Will Johnson have any more of a role in the rushing game than he did last week?
We're in the process of developing that. That's what Tuesday's about for us as a staff, but not only Tuesday, into Wednesday and Wednesday evening as well. He's a guy with a nice skill set that's capable of doing a lot of things, and I'd imagine that he's capable of helping us in that area as well. I know he has in the past.
Mike, there were a fair number of missed tackles in the game. I know at certain points you talked to some of the guys on the sideline about it. These guys know how to tackle. They know that's their job. Is there anything that you do technique-wise during the season, week to week, you just continue to emphasize getting the technique right? Is there anything more than that?
Absolutely. Guys work at it daily, formally and informally. We've got a pod of guys that you'll see tomorrow post-practice that does form tackling on the pop-up sleds. We continually talk about the approach to tackling. Oftentimes, being an effective tackler is not about the tackle itself. It's about the approach to the tackle, the position that you coach the approach and coach it in great detail. I think the guys coach each other in terms of the approach, in terms of pursuit of the football and not pursuing behind the same colored jersey and things of that nature. Those are some of the things that formally and informally we do to stay sharp in that area, and we'll always be working to stay sharp in that area. It's a big component of the game of football, much like on the offensive side, we're continually working to stay sharp in terms of blocking techniques.
Mike, to make a run at this thing, you guys would have to win some difficult road games. What did you learn during the year from some of the difficult road experiences?
I'm not trying to, learn lessons at this point. I'm just trying to put together a plan that allows us to be successful this week. It's a single elimination tournament, so we're not afforded the opportunity for a big picture perspective, one that I'm sure that if you're not in our shoes, you're capable of having. I think we just need to be singularly focused on preparation for the Cincinnati Bengals and working to get out of this stadium that we're going into on Saturday night.
Mike, they've won a playoff game in something like 25 years. You guys have had a lot of success in that stadium. I think Marvin Lewis referred to this game as a chance for an exorcism. Do you think there's a psychological advantage for you guys going in?
You know, not from my perspective. They're probably better equipped to answer that than I am. I'm just focused on our group and what it is that we need to do. That's their story, not ours.
Mike, do you feel at times that Ben is maybe overly reliant on Antonio?
Man, I'd rely on Antonio, wouldn't you? He delivers time and time again.
Like 8 for 11 on the season and 2-point conversions. You've been relatively aggressive, but more so in the early part of the season than the later part of the season. Will your approach change at all in the playoffs?
We'll see. That's been an element of our game that we put a lot of work into. We got a great deal of confidence in it. We don't hide those things. I wouldn't go to the bathroom after a score.
With the success that you've had, why haven't you been more aggressive?
Oftentimes, how the game's unfolding, it has a lot to do with it in terms of the point differential and so forth. Sometimes it's just about holding some of those plays, maybe potentially for a 3rd down and 2 from the 2, as opposed to a 2-point play. There are a myriad of things that go into the equation that determines whether or not we utilize that element of our attack or not.
Anything else for Coach?
Anything you'll do differently? They showed Jake Fisher as an H-back. If he comes in, will you have to have different personnel?
We'll deal with that. We may or we may not. Those are some of the things that we determine as we prepare throughout the course of the week. Short yardage things usually occur later in the week. I'm not ready to address that. I don't want to give you misinformation at this point.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.